Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Just like when I was a kid. Such nostalgia. Hey, I don't think I've seen you around. Pen is lying to you. What? Pen is lying to you. Hi, I'm Mike, Penguin Truth, and welcome to Otaku Evolution. Let's talk a little bit about anime compilation movies. In the 1970s and 80s, if you missed an episode of your favorite anime, the likelihood of catching a repeat was a gamble. VCRs were expensive, and outside of fan mags, there weren't really dedicated episode guides. Even if you did have access to a VCR, outside of taping it from the TV, you weren't going to have much luck because the Japanese priced their anime somewhere between through the nose and out the ass, to this very day. The internet wasn't much of a thing back then either. So what's a fan to do when they have to catch up with an anime? No DVR, no torrents, no cheap DVD box sets? Well, there is one thing. Compilation movies. Compilation movies were kind of a brilliant creation. Studios could slap together a few key episodes of their shows, run it in the theater, and people would pay to see it on the big screen and maybe order the tapes. But potentially the seed is planted to those who wanted to eventually. Studios could completely repackage their old work in a new way with sometimes minimum effort and re-energize the fan base. And for the fans, that was great too back then. Didn't see all the Space Battleship Yamato? There was a movie that covered that whole first season. Sure, it glossed over many details, but you at least got the main story and now knew whether the premise was for you or not. Or, if you had already seen the show, you'd love to see a highlight reel with upgraded visuals. It sure beat the home video prices for the series. Today's subject parallels Yamato's history quite closely. Gundam. Like the original Yamato series, the original Gundam series didn't light up the airwaves when it debuted on TV. But repeats and some aggressive toy marketing led to enough interest to create a movie version. But instead of one paltry movie, the Big T and Yas gave us three movies, and in this episode I'll look at the first one. It's my birthday, so I'm giving this to myself as a present. It's the year 0079 of the future calendar of the Universal Century. Giant O'Neill cylinder colonies are set up around the Earth. The people live against the walls of the colonies where there are artificial environments. But there's a war between two powers, the Earth Federation and the Principality of Zeon, and the war has killed off much of humanity. The Zeon have the advantage when the story begins because they're utilizing giant robots, mobile suits, called Zakus. But as the Zeon party discovers, the Federation is working on their own mobile suits. Our hero is a young teenage shut-in and robotics geek, Amuro Ray. Because the new Fed warship is docking at his home colony, and it's been followed by the enemy, the citizens are supposed to get into the shelters. But Amuro is slow to react to the alerts because he gets lost in his work. As he and childhood friend Fraubo get to the shelters, two Zaku pilots launch their attack. The usefulness of the shelters is questionable, so Amuro seeks out his father who came in on the ship.
Dad, we have to save the people first. They're more important than any machine is.
Let's get started.
We're under attack.
Get aboard White Base immediately, Amuro.
White Base? What is that?
The military ship I came here in. What's the holdup here?
Frau's family is killed in the attack, and Amuro makes the decision to get into the Fed mobile suit, the Gundam, and use it to defend the colony. Well, fortunately for him, it's user-friendly and no security features. He activates the mobile suit as a Zaku approaches. He slices through the first one, killing the pilot but damaging the colony, which is bad news for his father. Amuro's smarter when he takes on the second, going right for the cockpit. The Zeon officer in charge of the attack is busy being chewed out by his superior, Dozel Zabi, one of the elite who controls Zeon. The officer is the reoccurring antagonist, Char Aznable. You may recognize his voice in this movie as Stephen Bloom's, by the way. Char plans to make up for losing two of his team's mobile suits by infiltrating the colony and gathering information on the Gundam. Surviving soldiers and helpful civilians try to get people and materials on board the ship, the White Base. And this is when we meet two characters, Kai Shiden and Sayla Mass.
What? Hey! Are you crazy?
You're the most cowardly and disgusting person in the world.
Hey, what's your problem, Blondie?
My problem is I shocked myself by wishing that we could just take off and leave you here.
Well, who named you Queen of the Universe? You need to be taken down a peg.
I know the intention of the scene is for us to side with Sayla against the so-called coward Kai, who puts his own survival before the needs of the other colonists. But let's be honest here. The colony was just attacked. There were explosions everywhere. This civilian managed to survive and wants to get to safety. Sure, not staying to help isn't brave, but it's not really cowardly. And for Sayla to slap him and say he was the most cowardly person in the world? Well, given that the world they live in is just a handful of people now, it's not much of an insult. And Sayla's being a bitch. I am not a fan of Sayla Mass. Searching the colony for people to evacuate, Sayla comes across none other than Char, who's examining some of the wrecked Federation mobile suit parts. She confronts the masked man and orders him to remove his mask. When he does, he kicks the gun from her hand, and for a moment, the both of them seem to recognize each other. Just as Amuro arrives in the Gundam, Char speeds off. The skeleton crew of the White Base and the civilian helpers try to drive off Char with guns, destroying his camera. Char escapes and the White Base prepares to pursue, but hitting individual people in space can be tricky. The White Base, temporarily commanded by Bright Noah and piloted by Mirai Yashima, launches from the damaged colony. Amuro sorties in the Gundam in space as more enemy Zakus close in. Char pilots his salmon-colored painted Zaku at 3 times the normal speed.
Oh! Ah! What? Ah!
Behind you! There's one behind you! Pull up!
A core fighter? You've had it.
After the battle, Bright assigns Amuro as the regular pilot of the Gundam, with no room for debate. Amuro dislikes Bright's attitude, but probably admires the posh English accent they gave him in the English dub.
It's perfectly normal. Combat and maintenance personnel remain at your stations in case we have to launch the Gundam. Remain alert and prepared for anything. Prepare to scramble.
It wears thin sometime during the second movie. So anyway, White Base does have 2 other mobile suits, though they're lesser models. The gun tank and the gun cannon. And like the Gundam, they're suits that are plugged into by the core fighter jets. Pumpkin-headed loser Hayato trains to fight in the 2-man gun tank, and Kai mocks the little dweeb, earning the ire of Sayla.
Well now, that Zeon ship is right behind us. Why don't you bring it down?
Go away, little boy.
Yeah, right.
You, Kai, have you completed
What's
the
up?
maintenance on the gun cannon yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, now I want you to go on standby at level 15. Now.
Yes, sir.
Bitch, you aren't the captain of the ship. You have 0 authority. You were a fucking nursing student on Side 7. Being slightly older than Kai doesn't mean you can command him. Do us all a favor and go jump out of the airlock. At this point, Sayla is a communications officer at best. Unless those orders came from Bright, she's overreaching. As the White Base makes preparations for re-entry to Earth, they are attacked again by Char's ship. Amuro is forced to take on the Zagus just outside the planet's atmosphere. He manages to take one out, but the Red Comet isn't cowed by Gundam's raw power and counterattacks. Amuro struggles in combat with the veteran Zeon pilot, But being in the atmosphere forces Char to get into a space capsule. His subordinate isn't so lucky and burns up in his mobile suit. The Gundam, however, is no ordinary mobile suit and survives re-entry. Even though he failed to stop the White Base or destroy the Gundam, Char did manage to force the White Base to land in Zeon-occupied territory controlled by Garma Zabi, the son of the ruler of Zeon and the brother of Dozle. Char and Garma were old colleagues, and Garma regards the masked man warmly. Back on White Base, Amuro is exhausted from combat and gives Frau the cold shoulder. When Garma's forces attack, he refuses to launch in the Gundam. Though the White Base fights off the attack with guns and the other mobile suits, it's not nearly enough. Bright goes to Amuro's quarters to retrieve him and isn't taking his selfish moodiness.
We're in a war, Amuro, and we don't have time for a philosophical debate.
I'm not being philosophical, actually. I'm just flat out afraid.
Oh, yeah? I'll give you something to be afraid of.
You settle everything with violence?
Stop it, sir!
Why? We don't have any witnesses.
Ah, the slaps heard around the fandom. I don't know, Bright. Even in World War II, Patton got into trouble for slapping troops.
You can push them out of a plane. You can march them off a cliff. You can send them off to die on some godforsaken rock. But for some reason, you can't slap them.
And consider especially that while Bright is an actual Federation soldier, Amuro Ray is still technically a civilian, and so he's basically assaulting a civilian. Just some food for thought. For all the meme celebration of the Bright slap, it's really Fraubo shaming Amuro with talk of piloting the Gundam herself that spurs him back into action. That's right, good old-fashioned sexism and passive-aggressive female nagging combined. What a progressive show. Amuro springs into the battlefield and things begin to turn around for the White Base group, forcing Garma to retreat. The White Base is visited by a supply corps team led by Lieutenant Matilda Ajan. Oh, Matilda, I'd waltz with you any day. At a fancy party, Garma Zabi commiserates with his fiancée, Itzalina, the daughter of a powerful Earth politician that stayed after the invasion. Her father doesn't want his daughter marrying an invader, especially not a member of the Zabi family, but she's ready to run away with Garma if need be. Garma tells her that if he defeats the White Base, he'll earn the respect he deserves. Char watches the scene with much interest, but suddenly Garma is informed that the White Base was driven to where their forces wanted it. In a wrecked city, the White Base tries to stealthily maneuver around and avoid the enemy's bombings. During a bombardment, Bright spots a damaged stadium. The White Base backs into it as they prepare for combat. Char spots their location, but he has plans of his own. He reports to Garma that they've gone in the opposite direction. The White Base forces move out to blast Garma from behind. Nope. Not gonna do it. Not gonna make that joke. Not gonna...
Something gay, no doubt.
The White Base fires all guns at Garma's Gao ship, catching him completely off guard. But why would Char have steered him wrong?
Garma, nothing personal. You can blame this on the family name you were born with.
Shaw, you betrayed me?
That's right, old friend.
But why? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have to make any sense to you, Garma. Your father will understand, and that's all that really matters.
The White Base barely survived their battle with Garma, and have no idea how they really won. As for Char's motivation, we'll learn more about it in a later movie. After Duke Degwin Zabi learned of the death of his youngest child, he had his eldest son summon his other offspring to the capital colony of Zeon, Zoom City. The Zabis meet at the main palace before their father.
Son, it is not good to live in the past. Garma has left us. Accept it. Don't dwell on it. Put it behind you. The best way to honor poor Garma is to let him rest in peace.
Yikes! Obviously Garma was born of a different mother than the others. They are a frightening bunch. And the father looks like Mr. Potato Head. Because his mother lives on Earth, Amuro takes the opportunity to reunite with her, where she works at a refugee camp. Amuro has to cover his uniform and pretend to be a patient to avoid being spotted by Zeon soldiers. But ultimately, two of them who followed a report of Amuro's core fighter landing discover him, and Amuro is forced to kill one, while the other gets away. Seeing this violence, his mother reacts poorly.
How could you deliberately take the life of a fellow man? Amuro, that man could have a wife and children. What's happened to you?
What then? What? If you don't think I should kill our enemies, do you prefer that I let them kill me instead? Just what kind of a mother do I have here?
I love you. I only want you to be the sweet, gentle boy I remember. We didn't raise you to become a heartless monster, darling.
We're at war. Everything's different.
You make me ashamed to admit I'm your mother!
Amuro's mother's reaction is understandable, since she hasn't seen Amuro in years, and has this image of him in her mind that doesn't reckon with the brutal reality occurring, and how Amuro is involved. But Amuro is also sympathetic because, after all this time, he was looking for some comfort in a parent he'd been missing. It seems like neither of his parents are particularly suited to raising children. But no time to dwell on that crap. It's time for the dulcet sounds of Mary Elizabeth McGlynn as Lieutenant Matilda, as she explains an important plot device. Element. New types.
What are new types? I haven't heard the rumors.
You will. They're like super espers. They have fantastic mental energies and powers of intuition so incredible that many people are tempted to believe they're supernatural.
If only we had a few people like that working with us, we could get rid of the Zeons in no time at all.
By the way, congratulations, Lieutenant JG.
Huh? Is that a promotion?
Back in Zoom City, Garmazabi's state funeral is about to begin, and his father, Duke Dagwin, broods, until called on by his daughter, Cecilia. The remaining Zabi family members arrive at the event with the crowd going wild. Back on Earth, a ship carrying Zeon Lieutenant Ramba Ral and his group detect the presence of the White Base as it makes its way to Europe for an offensive. Ral has been sent to avenge the death of Garma and sees this as a great opportunity. And like Garma, he likes to get his hands dirty and prepares to launch in his own mobile suit. Unfortunately, Amuro has become burnt out from overwork and exposure to combat. But Bright doesn't give a shit and launches the Gundam anyway. Amuro has to snap out of it quickly because Ral attacks in the newer Zeon suit, the Goof. And as strong as the Gundam is, and Amuro's experience growing, the Goof and Ral are formidable.
A laser sword? Take the advantage when you've got it, or end up dead!
White Base's combined forces take Ral off guard though, so he makes a retreat to plan. The ship uses these blinding lights to disorient Amuro as they escape into the sky. And as the boy contemplates the power of the new mobile suit, Giranzabi's speech at the funeral of Garma begins.
To ensure our continued existence, there's only one choice to make. This is it. Either we fight and defeat the Federation, or they will destroy us! My people, join me in making a promise that Garma did not die in vain. That all of the sons and brothers and husbands of Zeon who have died in the cause of justice shall see us carry their battle on to ultimate victory. Big Zeon!
Bright isn't having any of this master race bullshit and denounces the broadcasts. And the movie ends with White Base continuing on its journey to Europe. The first Mobile Suit Gundam movie covers roughly around the first 14 or 15 episodes of the 43-episode television series. It's an incomplete story, so it's difficult to talk about the overall narrative, since it's not a standalone movie. But it has a great base. It has some very compelling characteristics, like the space colonies, mobile suits, and its troubled main character with his complex relationship with his parents, and Bright Noah, who's basically like a surrogate older brother. There hasn't really been a lot of development with the other characters yet, but you can start to see some personality peeking out if you're attentive, and they grow into their supporting roles. And there's hardly an antagonist in anime with more presence than Char Aznable, who is arguably a more striking and more important figure in the franchise than Amuro himself. I chose this movie to review for my birthday this year because it's really one of my favorites, And the Gundam movie trilogy is the most triumphant example of what compilation movies can do in streamlining a television series into films. The first movie does more than just highlight the main plot points of those early episodes, but actually makes them easier to digest, and sets up the new type plot device earlier than the show does. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a party to get to. Until next time, this is Penguin Truth for Otaku Evolution. See ya! Well, my memory's really fuzzy about it, and whenever I think about it, my head starts to hurt. Well, I think it was... Oh, right! I was traveling the world looking for penguins to recruit, and I took a break to go on the tour of Studio Gainax in Japan. At the end, I joked that I wish I could meet Pen Pen from Evangelion. One of the guys left for a moment. I asked where he was going and was really shocked when he came back with you. Apparently they had based the one in the show on you, a real Pen Pen, who Anno spotted at an aquarium. Yeah, I guess. Birthday, it's probably nothing. Ooh, let's have pizza and cake! What birthday? I'm talking about right now. Pen Pen is lying to you.